One of the most freeing realizations you can have in life is this. Nobody actually needs to understand what you're doing with your life. Not your friends, not your family, not the people around you. But most of us spend a surprising amount of time doing the opposite. We explain our decisions, we justify our directions, we try to make sure everyone understands our plans. And at some point, you realize something strange. You are spending more energy explaining your life than actually living it. Which is why the message of this video is simple. Stop explaining your life to everyone, just build it quietly. Because some of the most important things you will ever do won't make sense to anyone else until much later. When you start changing something about your life, people naturally ask questions. Why are you doing this? Why are you switching directions? Why are you focusing on something that doesn't seem practical yet? And at first, that feels reasonable. But what often happens is those conversations turn into something else. Suddenly, you're defending your decisions, you are explaining your goals, and you're trying to make everything sound logical and well planned, even when you are still figuring it out yourself. And that's where things get draining. Now, this is the main reason why I advise first-time fasters not to explain to people about their 3-week fasts. People in general are not in favor of such endeavors, and even though they understand it and they are perfectly aware why they will be doing it after all of that preparation, the constant explanations to people who won't even consider it is exhausting. This type of fasting is not for everyone. It's for people who want something more, for people who want to grow. Because growth is rarely neat and perfectly structured. It's messy and it's experimental. So sometimes you make a decision simply because something inside of you says it's the right decision. And here's the strange part. Some decisions only make sense after they work. But if you're constantly explaining yourself, you feel pressure to make everything sound convincing before it actually is. Now, another reason we explain our lives so much is validation. We want people to say things like, that makes sense, or that sounds like a good idea, or you should definitely do that. But here's something I've noticed. People rarely validate something before they see results. Let me tell you something weird I realized. Most people understand your decisions retroactively. Once something works, suddenly it makes sense, but not before. And then suddenly people say, I always thought that was a good idea. But while you're in the middle of the process, things often look confusing from the outside. Because from someone else's perspective, they only see fragments of what you are doing. They don't see the thing behind it. They don't see the small steps you are taking. They only see the parts that are visible, which means waiting for universal approval before moving forward is almost guaranteed to slow you down. Your life is not a community project. There's another pressure that has become really common. The idea that progress needs to be visible. And that if you are improving your life, you should be talking about it, sharing it, documenting it, posting about it, at least in some of the social pages. But real change usually happens in private. It's the habit nobody sees, the skills you are quietly developing, the way you are slowly changing how you think and how you act. And when you stop trying to make that progress visible to everyone else, something interesting happens. You gain a lot of energy back. Because growth is no longer a performance. You are living it. And here's something important to remember. Quiet progress is still progress. Just because nobody sees it, it doesn't mean nothing is happening. At the end of the day, your life doesn't need to make sense to everyone around you. Some paths only become clear years later. Some decisions look strange until the results appear. And some changes feel confusing from the outside because other people don't see the full picture. But that's okay. Because the goal of personal growth isn't to make everyone comfortable. The goal is to move in a direction that feels meaningful to you. even if other people don't understand it yet. Maybe the goal isn't to be understood. Maybe the goal is simply to keep moving forward. If you are in a season of life where people don't fully understand what you are doing, that doesn't mean you are doing something wrong. Some of the most meaningful progress in life happens quietly, without announcements, without constant explanations, and without approval. And the moment you realize that not everyone needs to understand your life, something changes. You stop trying to convince people and you start focusing on the work itself. Because at the end of the day, you don't need permission to change. And you definitely don't need to explain your life to everyone. Sometimes the best thing you can do is simply build it quietly. And talking about building your life, the best possible way to improve it is to focus on your health. And here's where I come in. If you're thinking about improving your life with fasting, I have a free school community called Fasting with Anne, where we talk about exactly that. Our experiences with fasting, difficulties and wins we experience, and the most important thing, where here you won't have to explain to people about what you're trying to achieve. Here we will cheer you on and support you with your decisions. The courses are in progress, where in time you will be able to find everything you will need to know and prepare for your 3-week fast. And afterwards, the detailed course about the Broy's fasting method. But first things first, you need to surround yourself with like-minded people, and that is what this free school community is all about. I hope to see you there. Bye for now.